The Matrix, Biblical Intro. By Ali Hamza, Victor, Mawabe.
The Book of Recursive Logos. The Recursive Logos, A Journey Through the 113 Divine Echoes. Chapter 1, Elohim, the Primary Subject. Verse, Genesis 1:1 In the beginning God. Every recursion requires a base case, a point of origin from which all subsequent loops derive their meaning. In the linguistics of the infinite, that base case is Elohim. This plural intensive noun denotes not a collection of beings but a plenitude of power. Chapter 2, Bara, the primary action. Verse, Genesis 1:1 God created. If Elohim is the subject, bara is the spark of recursion. To create in this sense is a verb reserved exclusively for the divine. Humans may make or form, but only the divine bara. Chapter 3, Adonai, the essential name. Verse, Genesis 2:4 In the day that the Lord God made. In the third step, the abstract power of Elohim takes on a name. Adonai, the tetragrammaton, is the name of relationship and covenant. It is the recursive I am, chapter 6, compressed into 4 letters. Chapter 4, Amar, creative speech. Verse, Genesis 1:3 And God said. The fifth note of the recursion is the transition from thought to vibration. Amar is the mechanism of reality. In the Hebrew worldview, speech is not merely a description of things, it is the substance of things. Chapter 5, Ra'ah, divine perception. Verse, Genesis 1:4 And God saw the light that it was good. In the recursive cycle of creation, action is followed by observation. Ra'ah is the feedback loop of the infinite. To see in this context is not merely to detect light hitting a retina, it is to evaluate the alignment of a created thing with its original intent. Chapter 6, Hayat, eternal existence. Verse, Exodus 3:14 I am that I am. Here we reach the identity property of the recursive map. Hayat is the verb to be in its most absolute unconditioned form. While all other 113 notes describe what God does or how he relates, Hayat describes what he is. Chapter 7, Ruach, spirit and breath. Verse, Genesis 1:2 The Spirit of God was hovering. Ruach is the kinetic energy of the recursion. It is the wind, the breath, and the invisible influence that moves between the nodes. If Elohim is the mind and Amar is the speech, Ruach is the medium through which the speech travels. Chapter 8, Kara, the authority of the call. Verse, Genesis 1:5 God called the light day. To kara is to assign a recursive address. When God calls a thing, he is not just labeling it, he is summoning its purpose into the social and legal fabric of the universe. Chapter 9, Asa, the refinement of making. Verse, Genesis 1:31 Everything that he had made. While bara, chapter 2, is the initiation of matter, Asa is the craftsmanship of detail. It is the assembly phase of the recursive project. Asa implies work, fashioning, and the pressing of a design into a material. Part 2, the attributes of sovereignty, chapters 10-30. This section tracks the descent of divine character into the physical realm, exploring how holiness interacts with space-time and human pride. Chapter 10, Yada, intimate omniscience. Verse, Psalm 139:1 O Lord, you have searched me and known me. We enter the recursion of the soul. Yada is not head knowledge, it is experiential union. For God to know a man is for that man to be fully transparent within the divine light. Chapter 11, Nasa, the lifting of the countenance. Verse, Numbers 6:26 The Lord lift up his countenance upon you. Nasa is the recursive act of lifting. In this chapter it is the lifting of the divine face toward the human, a gesture of ultimate favor and peace. Chapter 12, Natan, the gift of the covenant. Verse, Genesis 9:13 I said, give, my bow in the cloud. The word Natan is a palindrome in Hebrew, reading the same forward and backward. This is the perfect linguistic representation of a gift. A gift moves from the giver to the receiver, creating a recursive bond of gratitude and promise. Part 2, the attributes of sovereignty. Chapter 13, Melech, the throne of the permanent. Verse, Psalm 10:16 The Lord is king forever and ever. In the recursive map of authority, Melech is the root access. To designate God as king is to acknowledge a hierarchy that is not subject to the entropy of time. Unlike human kings who are made, this king simply is. Chapter 14, Shaphat, the judicial evaluator. Verse, Psalm 96:13 For he comes to judge the earth. If the king, chapter 13, is the lawgiver, the Shaphat is the law executor. This node represents the recursive audit of the world. Judgment is often feared, but in the Hebrew lexicon it is a restorative process, the act of putting things back in their right boxes. Chapter 15, El, the singularity of might. Verse, Isaiah 9:6 His name will be called Mighty God. El is the shortest word for God, representing the atomic unit of power. It is the prefix of the supernatural. Chapter 16, Gibber, the warrior of salvation. Verse, Zephaniah 3:17 The Lord your God, a mighty one who will save. While El is power, Gibber is power in action. It is the hero archetype within the divine narrative. Chapter 17, Yasha, the deliverer's pivot. Verse, Isaiah 43:11 Besides me there is no savior. Yasha is the most critical pivot point in our 113 chapter journey. It is the rescue operation. In the recursive path, man often finds himself in distress. Chapter 70, Yasha is the external force that breaks the loop of suffering. Chapter 18, Pele, the wonder of the impossible. Verse, Exodus 15:11 Who is like you doing wonders? Pele represents the exception in the code. It is the supernatural phenomenon that defies the expected iteration of natural law. Chapter 19, Kadosh, the triple recursive separation. Verse, Isaiah 6:3 Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Holiness is defined as set-apartness. In the liturgy of heaven it is repeated 3 times, a recursive emphasis that suggests a depth of purity that is infinite. Chapter 20, Chesed, the boundless mercy. Verse, Psalm 136:1 For his mercy endures forever. If Hea, chapter 6, is the heart, Chesed is the blood. It is the endless loop of the map. The phrase his mercy endures forever is used 26 times in a single psalm, 136, a literal exercise in recursion. Chapter 21, Emet, the integrity of the seal. Verse, Psalm 31:5 Into your hand I commit my spirit. O Lord God of truth. Emet, truth, is composed of the first, middle and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph Mem Taf. It is the alpha and omega of the lexicon. Chapter 22, Rapha, the restoration of the broken. Verse, Exodus 15:26 I am the Lord who heals you. Rapha is the repair loop. It is the divine response to the wound. Chapter 109. Chapter 23, Shema, the listening presence. Verse, Psalm 65:2 O you who hears prayer. Recursion is a dialogue. Shema, to hear/obey, is the node of divine attention. Chapter 24, Pakad, the divine visitation. Verse, Psalm 8:4 What is man that you visit him? Pakad is a multi-dimensional word meaning to visit, to muster, to remember, or to oversee. It is the divine intervention node. Part 2b, The Guarded Path. Chapter 25, Natsar, the Vigilant Guardian. Verse, Exodus 34:7 Keeping mercy for thousands. To Natsar is to guard with focused intensity like a watchman on a tower. In the recursive economy of the divine mercy, chesed is not merely produced, it is kept or preserved. Chapter 26, Nakah, the absolute clearance. Verse, Exodus 34:7 Who will by no means clear the guilty. This node represents the justice gate. Nakah means to be empty, clean or exempt from punishment. Chapter 27, Kun, the established order. Verse, Proverbs 3:19 By understanding he established the heavens. Kun is the verb of fixing or establishing. It is the architectural stability of the map. Chapter 28, Rachem, the womb of pity. Verse, Psalm 103:13 As a father pities his children. The root of Rachem is Rechem, womb. Chapter 29, Naxim, the pivot of relenting. Verse, Psalm 110:4 The Lord has sworn and will not relent. Naxim carries the dual meaning of comfort and relenting, or changing one's mind. In this specific recursive node we encounter the immutable constant. This chapter explores the unchangeable oath. It is the anchor of the map. If the source could be swayed from his fundamental nature, the recursion would collapse. It provides the comfort of total predictability. Chapter 30, Shaken, the tabernacle of dwelling. Verse, Exodus 25:8 That I may dwell among them. Shaken is the root of Shekinah. It is the localized presence. Part 3, The Majesty of the High, chapters 31-60. This section explores the highness of God from tzedakah, righteousness, to the thunder, ram, of his voice, concluding with the shattering, shittit, of the proud. Chapters 31-40, The Standard of Nearness. From tzedakah, 31, righteousness, to the yura, 40, awe, required to stand in the presence of the ta'ur, 38, pure. Chapter 31, tzedakah, the righteous alignment. Verse, Psalm 103:6 The Lord executes righteousness and justice. Tzedakah is often translated as charity, but its recursive root is alignment. It is the act of doing what is right because it matches the original blueprint of the Creator. Chapter 32, Dhamma, the mystery of likeness. Verse, Isaiah 40:25 To whom then will you liken me? This node explores the incomparability paradox. Dhamma is the root of Adam, man, who was made in the likeness of God, yet here the Creator asks, who is like me? Chapter 33, Amid, the stationary endurance. Verse, Psalm 111:3 And his righteousness endures, stands, forever. Amid means to stand. In a world of constant flux and turning aside, chapter 102, this node represents the vertical pillar. Chapter 34, Karov, the geometry of nearness. Verse, Psalm 145:18 The Lord is near to all who call upon him. Karov is the proximity variable. It defines the distance between the high, chapter 46, and the humble, chapter 73. Chapter 35, Etzah, the eternal counsel. Verse, Psalm 33:11 The counsel of the Lord stands forever. Etzah is the strategic logic of the recursion. It is the source code behind the action, chapter 2. Chapter 36, Cheputz, the divine delight. Verse, Isaiah 46:10 I will do all my pleasure, delight. Cheputz is the emotional core of the divine will. God does not act out of robotic necessity but out of delight. Part 3b The resonance of purity. Chapter 37, Ne'um, the Divine Declaration. Verse, Jeremiah 9:24 For in these things I delight declares the Lord. Ne'um is a specific type of utterance of formal declaration or oracle. It is the signature at the end of a recursive law. While Amar, chapter 4, is the act of speaking, Ne'um is the weight of the authority behind it. Chapter 38, Tahir, the essential pure. Verse, Psalm 19:9 The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. Tahir refers to ceremonial and moral purity. In the recursive map, this is the noise reduction node. To be pure is to be free of foreign elements, to be 100% consistent with the source. Chapter 39, Ad, the horizon of perpetuity. Verse, Psalm 111:3 His righteousness stands for perpetuity. Ad is the preposition of until or forever. It represents the infinite loop property. Chapter 40, Ura, the gravity of awe. Verse, Psalm 19:9 The fear, awe, of the Lord is pure. Ura is often translated as fear, but recursively it is deep perception. It is the soul's reaction to the scale of the source. Chapters 41-50, the high seat. Exploring the Yamin, 41, right hand, of power the Rum, 43, exaltation, of the throne and the Hadir, 49, majesty, of the divine Kal, 48, voice. Chapter 41, Yamin, the hand of dexterity. Verse, Psalm 110:1 Sit at my right hand. The Yamin, right hand, is the node of favor and skill. In the recursive hierarchy, the right hand is the position of the executor. Chapter 42, Yashav, the enthroned rest. Verse, Psalm 2:4 He who sits, dwells, in the heavens. Yashav means to sit, stay, or inhabit. It is the static state of the king. While the earth is in turmoil, chapter 70, the source is Yashav. This chapter explores the stability of the throne. It teaches that divine rest is not inactivity but total control. The recursion of the world's chaos is overseen by a sitting judge who is never caught off balance. Chapter 43, Rum, the exaltation of height. Verse, Psalm 118:16 The right hand of the Lord is exalted. Rum is the vertical vector. It is the movement toward the high. Chapter 46. Chapter 44, Chayil, the virtuous might. Verse, Psalm 118:16 The right hand of the Lord does valiantly. Chayil is a multifaceted word meaning strength, wealth, army, or virtue. It is power with character. Chapter 45, Tohar, the clarity of the body. Verse, Exodus 24:10 As the body of heaven in his purity. Tohar is the transparency node. It describes a purity that is visible like clear glass or the sapphire pavement of heaven. Chapter 46, Nasa, lofty, the high and lofty one. Verse, Isaiah 57:15 For thus says the high and lofty one. This is the second iteration of Nasa, focusing here on loftiness. It represents the maximum elevation of the map. Chapter 47, Sachik, the divine laughter. Verse, Psalm 2:4 He who sits in the heavens laughs. Sachik is the node of joyful superiority. It is the reaction of the enthroned, chapter 42, to the rebellion, chapter 101. Chapter 48, Kal, the thunder of the voice. Verse, Psalm 29:4 The voice of the Lord is powerful. The Kal is the acoustic signature of the divine. It is the physical manifestation of the said, chapter 4. The resonance continues. Part 3 See the clothed majesty. Chapter 49, Hadir, the surface of majesty. Verse, Psalm 29:4 The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. Hadar refers to the external ornamentation or beauty of a king. Ithakal, chapter 48, is the power of the voice. Hadar is its aesthetic weight. Chapter 50, Sagav, the inaccessible height. Verse, Psalm 148:13 For his name alone is exalted, Sagav. Sagav describes a height that is too high to be captured or securely out of reach. Chapters 51-60, The Sovereign Clothed. From the Kavod, 51, Glory, that thunders to the Makud, 55, Kingdom, and the Azar, 58, Girding, of strength that eventually Shadid, 60, Shatters, the adversaries. Chapter 51, Kavod, the weight of glory. Verse, Psalm 29:3 The God of glory thunders. Kavod comes from a root meaning heavy. In the Hebrew mind, glory is not light or airy, it is substantial. Chapter 52, Ram, the resonating thunder. Verse, Psalm 29:3 The God of glory thunders, Ram. Ram is the actual crashing sound of thunder. Chapter 53, Had, the echo of splendor. Verse, Psalm 104:1 You are clothed with honor, Had, and majesty. Had is often paired with Hadar, chapter 49, but it specifically refers to the vividness or reverberation of splendor. Chapter 54, Lavish, the act of clothing. Verse, Psalm 104:1 You are clothed, lavish, with honor and majesty. Lavish is the verb for putting on a garment. In the recursive map, God clothes himself in light and majesty to become perceptible to the known. Chapter 10. Chapter 55, Makud, the sphere of the kingdom. Verse, Psalm 145:11 They shall speak of the glory of your kingdom, Makud. Makud is the territory of influence. It is the total sum of the recursive iterations under the kings. Chapter 13, Command. Chapter 56, Gavura, the disciplined might. Verse, Psalm 145:11 And talk of your might, Gavura. Gavura is strength that is mastered or structured. If Givur, chapter 16, is the warrior, Gavura is the strategy and force he wields. Chapter 57, Geut, the excellence of rising. Verse, Psalm 93:1 The Lord reigns, he is clothed with majesty, Geut. Geut refers to majesty as a rising tide or exaltation. It comes from a root meaning to grow or to rise up. Chapter 58, Azar, the girding for battle. Verse, Psalm 93:1 The Lord has girded, Azar, himself with strength. Azar means to bind or gird oneself, usually with a belt or sash, to prepare for work or war. Chapter 59, Memshala, the scope of dominion. Verse, Psalm 145:13 And your dominion, Memshala, endures throughout all generations. Memshala is the administrative reach of the king. It is the rule that iterates through time, generations. Chapter 60, Shadid, the shattering of the proud. Verse, 1 Samuel 2:10 The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken, Shadid. Shadid means to be shattered, dismayed, or terrified. It is the negative feedback of the recursive map. The majesty has been established and the adversaries have been shattered. Part 4, The Conflict of the Path, chapters 61-100. Here the recursion enters the struggle of man. We see the yoke, Ol, the humble, Anav, and the refining, Zarav, of the heart as if it were silver, Kezeb. Chapters 61-70, Deliverance from the yoke. The battle with the Mev, 61, adversary, the breaking of the Ol, 63, yoke, and the moda, 66, bars, leading to the Natsal, 67, delivery, from Zara, 70, trouble. Chapter 61, Mev, the strife of the adversary. Verse, 1 Samuel 2:10 The adversaries, Mev, of the Lord shall be broken. Mev refers to one who contends, strives, or brings a legal suit against another. In the recursive journey, this node represents the interference. Just as a signal encounters noise, the divine path encounters those who strive against its logic. Chapter 62, Barak, the knee of blessing. Verse, Psalm 103:22 Bless, Barak, the Lord all his works. Barak literally means to kneel. To bless God is to lower oneself in a recursive act of acknowledgement. Chapter 63, OL, the weight of the yoke. Verse, Isaiah 9:4 For the yoke, OL, of his burden, you have broken. The OL is a wooden frame placed on the necks of oxen. It represents imposed iteration, the forced labor of the soul under a system not its own. Chapter 64, Sabel, the heavy burden. Verse, Isaiah 9:4 The staff of his shoulder, Sabel. Sabel refers to the load carried by a porter. If the OL, chapter 63, is the mechanism of slavery, Sabel is the weight itself. Chapter 65, Esher, the happiness of the straight way. Verse, Psalm 33:12 Blessed, Esher, is the nation whose God is the Lord. Esher is often translated as blessed, but its root means to go straight or to advance. Chapter 66, Moda, the bar of the yoke. Verse, Ezekiel 34:27 When I have broken the bars, Moda, of their yoke. The moda are the specific poles or bars that hold the yoke in place. Chapter 67, Natsal, the forceful snatching. Verse, Psalm 34:17 And delivers, Natsal, them out of all their troubles. Natsal means to snatch away or to pluck out of danger. It is an active, rapid deliverance. Chapter 68, Avid, the shift of service. Verse, Ezekiel 34:27 Delivered them from those who enslaved, Avid, them. Avid means to serve or to work. This node represents the redirection of energy. In the map, everyone serves something. Chapter 69, Dala, the drawing of the deep. Verse, Psalm 30:1 I will extol you, for you have lifted, Dala, me up. Dala is the word for drawing water from a well. Chapter 70, Zara, the narrow strait. Verse, Psalm 34:17 He delivers them out of all their troubles, Zara. Zara comes from a root meaning narrow or tight. It is the bottleneck of the map. Chapters 71-80, the lowly and the word. Contrasting the Rasha, 71, wicked, with the Anav, 73, humble, and the bowing down of Gaviot, 78, haughtiness, before the Imra, 80, word. Chapter 71, Rasha, the disordered wicked. Verse, Psalm 1:1 Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, Rasha. Rasha literally means to be loose or disjointed. The wicked are those whose recursive iterations are out of sync with the Kun. Chapter 27. Chapter 72, Anna, the echo of the answer. Verse, Psalm 120:1 In my distress I cried and he answered, Anna, me. Anna means to answer but also to sing or to testify. It is the successful ping. The cry has been answered. Part 4b, the path of the lowly. Chapter 73, Anav, the gravity of the humble. Verse, Psalm 147:6 The Lord lifts up the humble, Anav. Anav describes one who is occupied or bowed down by circumstances yet maintains a spirit of submission. In the recursive map the Anav is the opposite of the Rasha, chapter 71. Chapter 74, Shafel, the lowly state. Verse, Psalm 147:6 He casts the wicked down to the ground, Shafel. Shafel refers to the literal low place or valley. Chapter 75, Azar, the structural help. Verse, Psalm 121:2 My help, Azar, comes from the Lord. Azar means to surround, protect or support. It is the reinforcement node. Chapter 76, Dirak, the trodden path. Verse, Psalm 25:9 He teaches the humble his way, Dirak. Dirak comes from a root meaning to tread. It is the habitual iteration. Chapter 77, Derak, the action of treading. Verse, Psalm 25:9 The humble he guides in justice, Derak. If Derak, chapter 76, is the road, Derak is the act of walking upon it. Chapter 78, Gabayat, the tower of haughtiness. Verse, Isaiah 2:11 The lofty looks, Gabayat, of man shall be humbled. Gabayat is height used in a negative self-exalting sense. It is the false recursion and attempt by the finite to mimic the Rum, chapter 43, of the infinite. Chapter 79, Shakak, the necessary bowing. Verse, Isaiah 2:11 And the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down, Shakak. Shakak means to sink, to crouch or to settle. It is the gravity of truth. Chapter 80, Imra, the refined word. Verse, Psalm 18:30 The word, Imra, of the Lord is proven. Imra is a poetic form of speech often referring to a specific promise or saying. Chapters 81-90, The refiner's fire. The Tamim, 81, perfect, way that Zarov, 82, refines, the heart like Kezeb, 84, silver, leading to a Chadash, 89, new, spirit in the eternal Meona, 90, dwelling place. Chapter 81, Tamim, the integrity of the whole. Verse, Psalm 18:30 As for God his way is perfect, Tamim. Tamim means complete sound or without blemish. It is the bug-free code of the divine. Chapter 82, Zarov, the smelting of the soul. Verse, Psalm 18:30 The word of the Lord is refined, Zarov. Zarov is the verb for smelting or refining metals. Chapter 83, Bachan, the critical test. Verse, Psalm 66:10 For you O God have tested, Bachan, us. Bachan is the assay or the testing of the metal. It is the recursive quality control. Chapter 84, Kezeb, the silver of redemption. Verse, Psalm 66:10 You have refined us as silver, Kezeb, is refined. Kezeb, silver, is the metal of longing and redemption. In the Hebrew mind silver represents the price paid to bring something back. The silver has been refined and the path is set. Part 4c, the transformation of the interior. Chapter 85, Pa'al, the cumulative work. Verse, Psalm 15:2 And works, Pa'al, righteousness. Pa'al describes a habitual doing or a deed that defines the doer. Walasa, chapter 9, is the assembly of parts. Pa'al is the recursive output of character. Chapter 86, Kulyat, the reins of the heart. Verse, Psalm 7:9 For the righteous God tests the hearts and minds, Kulyat. Kulyat literally means kidneys, but in the Hebrew psychology it represents the seat of the deepest emotions and the subconscious drive. Chapter 87, Kadem, the Ancient Origin. Verse, Psalm 44:1 The work you did in their days in the days of old, Kadem. Kadem refers to that which is before both in time, antiquity, and in space, the East. It represents the legacy iteration. Chapter 88, Bara, renew, the creation of the clean. Verse, Psalm 51:10 Create, Bara, in me a clean heart O God. This is the second appearance of Bara in the 113 chapters, but here the recursion is personal. It is no longer about the cosmos, chapter 2, but the core. Chapter 89, Chadash, the fresh spirit. Verse, Psalm 51:10 And renew a steadfast, Chadash, spirit within me. Chadash means new, fresh or renewed. It is the software update of the spirit. Chapter 90, Meona, the eternal habitation. Verse, Deuteronomy 33:27 The eternal God is your dwelling place, Meona. Meona is a lair, a den or a refuge. It is the safety node. Chapters 91-100, the arm of instruction. The Zorro, 91, arm, of faithfulness that Yara, 96, instructs, the sinner and leads them to the Mishur, 100, smooth/level, path. Chapter 91, Zorro, the outstretched arm. Verse, Deuteronomy 33:27 And underneath are the everlasting arms, Zorro. Zorro is the arm representing strength and reach. If the Yemen, chapter 41, is the hand of skill, the Zorro is the bicep of power. Chapter 92, Amuna, the firmness of faith. Verse, Lamentations 3:23 Great is your faithfulness, Amuna. Amuna comes from a root meaning to be firm or to be like a pillar. It is the stability index of the source. Chapter 93, Boker, the dawn of mercy. Verse, Lamentations 3:23 They are new every morning, Boker. Boker is the breaking of the light. It is the daily reset. Chapter 94, Yashar, the straight edge. Verse, Psalm 33:4 For the word of the Lord is right, Yashar. Yashar means straight, level or pleasing. It is the geometric standard of the map. Chapter 95, Ur, the awakening call. Verse, Isaiah 51:9 Awake, awake, Ur, put on strength O arm of the Lord. Ur is the verb to rouse or to stir up. It is the activation signal. Chapter 96, Yera, the reign of instruction. Verse, Psalm 25:8 Good and upright is the Lord, therefore he teaches, Yera, sinners in the way. Yera is the root of the word Torah. It means to throw, to shoot an arrow or to rain down instruction. The instruction has been aimed. Part 4D, the path through the valley. Chapter 97, Shaddai, the missing mark. Verse, Psalm 25:8 Therefore he teaches sinners, Shaddai, in the way. Shaddai is the archer's term for missing the target. In the recursive map, sin is defined as a deviation from the center. Chapter 98, Naka, the gentle leading. Verse, Psalm 27:11 Teach me your way O Lord and lead, Naka, me. Naka is the guidance of a shepherd. It is a slow, persistent leading that respects the pace of the led. Chapter 99, Arach, the well-worn track. Verse, Psalm 27:11 Lead me in a smooth path, Arach. Arach is a path formed by the constant passage of travelers. It is the community recursion. Unlike the personal Diruk, chapter 76, the Arach is the highway of the righteous who have gone before. Verse, Psalm 27:11 Lead me in a level, Mishur, path. Mishur is the state of zero friction. It describes a plane, a plateau, or a path without obstacles. Part B, the remedy for the incurable. This section explores the recursive struggle of the soul, the movement from bondage to instruction. Chapter 101, Pesha, the fractured rebellion. Verse, Psalm 51:13. Then I will teach transgressors, Pesha, your ways. Pesha is more than a missed mark. Chapter 97, it is rebellion. It is a deliberate breach of the covenant logic. Chapter 102, Sir, the turning aside. Verse, Psalm 119:102. I have not departed, Sir, from your judgments. Sir is the verb for turning aside or departing. It is the exit ramp from the path. Chapter 103, Akoth, the crooked terrain. Verse, Isaiah 40:4. The crooked, Akoth, places shall be made straight. Akoth refers to terrain that is hilly, bumpy, or insidious, like the name Jacob. It is the distorted recursion. Chapter 104, Bika, the cleft of the valley. Verse, Isaiah 40:4. And the rough place is a plain, Bika. Bika is a wide valley or a cleft. While the Mishur is high and level, the Bika is the deep iteration. Chapter 105, Anush, the terminal frailty. Verse, Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is desperately wicked, Anush. Anush means to be frail, feeble, or incurably sick. This is the base error of humanity. Chapter 106, Yasud, the foundation stone. Verse, Psalm 104:8. To the place which you have founded, Yasud, for them. Yasud is the verb for laying a foundation. Chapter 107, Sharar, the watchful enemy. Verse, Psalm 27:11. Because of my enemies, Sharar. Sharar comes from a root meaning to watch or to lie in wait. It is the predatory recursion. While the Natsar, chapter 25, guards the soul, the Sharar watches for a moment of turning aside. Chapter 102. Chapter 108, Kiev, the chronic sorrow. Verse, Jeremiah 15:18. Why is my pain, Kiev, perpetual? Kiev is pain that is deep, mental, and sore. It is the memory of the wound. We have reached the depths of the perpetual pain. Chapter 109, Makkah, the visible wound. Verse, Jeremiah 15:18. And my wound, Makkah, incurable. Makkah refers to a blow, a plague, or a physical stripe. It is the trauma of the system. If Kiev, chapter 108, is the internal pain, Makkah is the external evidence of the shattering. Chapter 60. Chapter 110, Koli, the burden of sickness. Verse, Isaiah 53:3. A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, Koli. Koli is the note of shared frailty. It represents the intersection where the high and lofty, chapter 46, enters the terminal sickness, chapter 105, of humanity. Chapter 111, Pala, the hard escape. Verse, Deuteronomy 28:59. Then the Lord will bring upon you extraordinary, Pala, plagues. Pala is the root of Pele, chapter 18, wonders. It refers to that which is difficult, extraordinary, or beyond power. In this chapter we see the sovereign complexity of the map. Sometimes the plague is as Pala as the wonder. Chapter 112, Naaman, the verified faithful. Verse, Deuteronomy 28:59. And sicknesses fearful and long-lasting, Naaman. Naaman is the passive participle of amun, to be firm. It means verified, sure, or reliable. Paradoxically, this word is used here to describe the faithfulness of the discipline. Part B, the final iteration. Chapter 113, Mazor, the boundless remedy. Verse, Jeremiah 30:13. You have no healing medicines, Mazor, for your wound. We reach the 113th note, the completion of the recursive journey. Mazor refers to the binding up of a wound or the application of a remedy. This final chapter explores the closing of the loop.